Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Fearless and Devotion with me, Tim. I'm also joined by Andy, Liam, and our special guest today, Dan Rowe, massive football fan from Andy's Man Club. He's going to tell us all about that afterwards and his latest appearance on Welcome to Wrexham episode 3. But Dan, thanks for joining us first and foremost. Jumping on everything and anything that we're about to go through. And yeah, just enjoy it. But thanks for coming on, mate. Thanks for gracing us with your presence on this joyous occasion.
Thanks for the invite. Much appreciated.
It's all right. You're very, very welcome. Before we get into I was going to say the nuts and bolts of the weekend that's gone, or the week that's gone, but the first couple of weeks after the season's finished, it's all a little bit. There's not much happening, so we'll let Andy do his hard
Don't
sell
sell the
first.
podcast like that, Tim. Just say it's
Well,
wall to wall with quality stuff.
I've got to go in gently because I've got to set you up for your hard sell first. So get your hard sell out of the way. Go on, off you go.
All right, okay. Right, so the first edition of Wrexham is the Game newsletter came out on Wednesday. We built a small little subscriber up. Thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed it. Tim, I thought it was all right, wasn't it? It was like, it really got the fanzine sort of vibe, didn't it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I literally, you mentioned something and I was just like, yeah. And I didn't have a clue what I was setting myself up for. Then you were just like, do this, do that. I was like, okay. And then I realized it was kind of a similar vibe to the fanzine, which, has taken a bit of a back seat for however long, who knows. But it's just nice to kind of keep that kind of ticking over. So
Yeah.
it was an enjoyable read, I think, as Steve said.
So, right, what the script is, it comes out every Wednesday. It's around about 2,000 words. We can say some stuff in that we can't really say on the pod because, it's behind the paywall. We can be a little bit more forthright. Tim nearly libeled Fleur last week, but I took those bits out. Don't worry.
No, I didn't libel at all. That's
yeah, okay. But basically, look, we're level with you. It's £15 for the year, so there is a cost involved. But for that, you'll get one a week. You'll probably get a bit more if there's something big happening as well, because we'll want to comment on it. So it is pretty good value. Tim, I hope you probably can pop it into the description here, and maybe as one of the posts you did last week. It's probably it will be a pinned tweet on my Twitter as well. Don't want to go on anywhere more about it. But, we think it's quite a good product, and I think we're quite pleased with the first one, and we're pretty happy with the second one. Right, sell over. Don't want to say any more about that. Please buy it.
Yeah. But still, please do the whole buy us a coffee thing for this thing as well. We've never blagged for cash. We don't like blagging for cash, but, we do this for free in our free time. So please buy us a coffee and all that jazz to support this. So shout out to everybody who has done. Very, very, very kind of you.
Yeah, thanks you.
Anyway, hard sell done, out of the way. Obviously, no match action really in that sense. So let's dive into what has been going on. I mean, prior to this takeover, Andy, who would you say was Wrexham's most famous fan?
Oh, well, I'm going to go Tim Robbins, his daughter Kate. I'm probably going to go Bryn Law, and I once saw Tim Vincent on the District line. He actually lives quite close to me. When you sort of see someone, you think, oh, we could be pals. We could watch Wrexham games together at the local pub. I didn't approach him. I did sort of follow him a little bit just to see what street he lived on, but I didn't see which actual house. So he can't actually get a restraining order against me yet.
I must say that you did say Tim Robbins, who is very different to Ted Robbins. We all know who you meant. Ted Robbins from Hollywood fame, as opposed to Tim Robbins, who is a Hollywood actor. So Liam, can you better that in any way, shape, or form?
I was gonna say, what's the former royal butler's name?
Paul Burrell.
Paul Burrell. He doesn't support Wrexham. Come on.
I was on the same speed awareness course as him, so there's that as well.
How fast was he going?
I don't know, but he was keen for everyone to know that he was there, though. They were sort of going around the table, and it was like, oh, what's your name? Paul! So loud that everyone turns around and has to notice that it's him. So, yeah, but no, I think we're stretching.
Are we on official Diana business, do you think? And do you think her ghost
whoa.
Let's not go there.
Let's not. I didn't know where you were going with this. That we can't talk about speed awareness and Diana in the same sentence. Stop it, Andrew Gilpin, now. We don't want to
Okay, well, it's easier to libel the dead than it is than it is people still alive.
Telly's been out in
anyway,
the sun on the drinks. We are sponsored by the Fat Boar. Please, Andrew, get yourself down there instead of these backwater pubs in Kew Gardens that you visit. Anyway, Dan, can you better that? There is a reason for this, by the way. I'm kicking the ass out of it. But Dan, can you think of anybody else? Have they all been covered?
I'm struggling. Bryn Law was probably the one that springs to mind just for that commentary from the Boston game, and the elevation that he got for that as well. But yeah, I'm struggling. Apart from the ones that you guys have mentioned, Paul Burrell's ones is a great one.
The latest fraternity to the sort of celebrity fandom of Wrexham, following the likes of Hugh Jackman and Paul Rudd and whoever else, is Travis and Jason Kelce. Now, I wasn't too familiar with these not that long ago because I don't really follow the NFL, American football. Turns out one of them is quite a big deal. Well, they're both quite a big deal. One's more of a big deal because he's dating Taylor Swift. And there was an article, or Rob and Ryan were doing the press for Welcome to Wrexham in the sort of weeks that preceded season 3 being released. And Rob basically said they're planning on getting Taylor to come to a Wrexham match, and maybe they need to do that by using Travis Kelce, the glorious other half. I cut it and I put it on the Fearless in Devotion website, on Twitter, and then turns out I get a message out of the blue from Instagram from somebody who says, "Oh, your tweet's just been mentioned by Travis and Jason Kelce on their New Heights podcast." I was like, I should go and have to check this out. Quite a big deal, it would seem, because their reach is pretty big.
Is it bigger than ours, Tim?
It's pretty well. It is. However, a big thanks to everybody who is checking us out for the first time, because our viewing figures on YouTube have definitely doubled since the episode season 3's come out. So maybe that's down to that. I don't know, but yeah, that's just a bit weird. So you got these two kind of big deal American footballers talking about how they're definitely going to take up Rowan Ryan's invite to come over, have a few beers, take in a game, and they both spoke about the town and Rowan Ryan and the club really, really well. It wasn't like they've just been caught out by this sort of message. They're like, oh, okay.
They've done a bit of research, mate, because there was that whole thing about Lewis Rees-Zammit coming across, and they thought because he was British, he was quite plummy, and he'd be wearing a top hat and going what with his monocle. And then they found out that he's Welsh, and he's not quite like that, even though Rees-Zammit probably is probably a posh South Wales. But it's not the plummy sort of existence that they thought we all lived in the United Kingdom. You know what? That is huge, and it's a lot bigger than it's opening up another part of America to us. The fact that these guys are now chatting about us openly on a podcast, like you sort of think, right, okay, when does that season start? If they're on the beers, it's going to be the back end, isn't it? It's going to be sort of, I think Super Bowl's the end of February, early February. Dan, do you know? I don't really know much about American football.
I'd never heard of either of them, to be honest with you. But given that I live with a Swiftie, she has now informed me everything about each and every single one of their existence. I believe one of them's recently retired at the end of the season, but I think the Super Bowl winner, the Super Bowl winner hasn't. So yeah, from memory, it is sort of February, March, isn't it? So we will get the back end of next season. Maybe
you're in the baseball
championship.
I've just Googled it and it says Sunday the 9th of February 2025 is the next one. So there we go.
Okay. So expect them any time after that.
They're going to the wheat sheaf in Worcester, aren't they?
Maybe we can do a New Heights Fearless and Devotion podcast tie-up to head live from the Aviation Gin Suite. But there you go. The invite is there. Anyway, on to more slightly serious matters. EFL TV deal. Liam, I've been living under a rock a little bit when it comes to that news this week. So you were about to inform me, as well as our viewers, listeners, as to what this is all about.
Yeah, I've got 2 articles up on it, because one sort of explains the background to it, and then one's a bit more about the logistics, because I imagine people have questions about how they access it and stuff. So basically, Sky Sports has announced that all of the EFL teams will be shown live more than 20 times per season as part of the new rights deal, which is for next season. So part of that will be on Sky Sports Football, which is your normal channels that you're used to. But they've also announced a new channel called Sky Sports Plus, which is where the majority of these matches are going to be streamed. And the thing about that channel is actually they can stream up to 100 events at any one time on Sky Plus. So it's like a really big streaming platform.
Like the red button sort of thing.
Yeah, I think pretty much like that. Yeah, it's. I'll go into the logistics now because it makes more sense. But it's open to Sky Sports subscribers, but also, same as if you got a Now TV pass, like some people do, to access it for a day, a month, a week, or whatever. You can also get all of it on that, and there's also the ability to sort of pause, rewind, fast forward, all of that stuff. So if you want to watch a Wrexham match like Benny Hill, that'll be an ideal opportunity.
Is that a direct competitor to iFollow then?
It's instead, well, it's essentially instead. My understanding is that iFollow will remain in existence for international followers, but to all intents and purposes, now in the UK, Sky is essentially taking that over, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, it'll be a bit different because 20 times is good. Let's not make any bones about it. But I think,
mate, it's a Tuesday night. I could watch Wrexham versus Sutton on my iFollow. It was really good. I don't think I can do that with Sky, even though I'm a Sky subscriber. I don't think every game is going to be available to me, is it?
No, it doesn't sound like it. I mean, there was also going to be things based around timing. The 3 p.m. blackout remains very much in place. So on these 20 occasions when people are shown, there's the potential that it could be a Saturday 12:30 one. There'll also be a match on a Friday evening, one the Sunday lunchtime, and others featured.
Sorry, mate, but like me traveling to games, that's going to hurt me because if it's like midday on a Sunday, how am I going to get there? I'm a little bit
just about to come to that. I mean, when we've been in the depths of despair, and we were lucky to get like one game every 2 years or something, and I'd look at like Championship and Premier League teams playing. West Ham are playing Newcastle away on a Sunday at midday. It's like, well, that's not very great for the West Ham fans.
Yeah,
I know it's all money and it's a global sport, and Sky are very much on top of all that. But are we about to feel the real pinch of what it's like to be a football fan at a higher level, where basically fans do come last? Let's be honest. We do come last when it comes to, we might get Leyton Orient. It's all right for you, Andy, but we might get Leyton Orient on a Sunday at 12 o'clock. It's like it's just a little bit chaotic, and Wrexham fans, like a lot of other fans do, they will make reasonable adjustments to get to as many games as they can. But are we kind of in that sort of territory now where we're going to feel like, Dan? Do you think that's the case?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can guarantee that Exeter away is going to either be a Friday night or a Saturday 12:30 kickoff, isn't it? You're just guaranteed that. I think this is probably just a reflection of how much live sport, especially live football, that Sky are losing at the moment. See, over recent years, with losing the likes of the Champions League and things along those lines, that it's almost a desperate attempt to kind of keep Sky relevant. In my opinion, there's obviously the big seller will give you clubs a load of cash, and the one group of people that don't exist to TV companies and to a lot of clubs as well is the fans, isn't it? Is the actual fan base. So I think it's going to be a challenge. I think it'll be obviously continue to be great for international fans who can watch. But even that, a lot of our fan base, international fan base, is in America. 12:30 on a Saturday in the west coast of America is not going to be much fun. Not going to be much fun, is it? So it's another kick in the teeth in a lot of ways, isn't it? But unfortunately, it's not surprising either.
Yeah, there's a couple of things to say sort of in mitigation. So obviously when internationals are on, the 3 p.m. blackout doesn't apply. First weekend of the season, every game is going to be shown on that platform. But obviously the Premier League won't have started, so I don't think there'll be as much faffing around with kickoffs. The other thing as well is that basically all televised fixtures up until January next year will be announced before the start of the season. So it's not like they're going to be shifted ad hoc type thing. It gives you a bit more clarity on when it's going to be. And then it says from then on, it'll be a bit more, what's the situation in this league? What games do we want to show? But there will be a further announcement in November, which confirms TV games until March. So I think the mitigation here is they are giving you a bit of notice. It's probably still not ideal. It probably still means that for some people, there'll be situations where they won't be able to go, but at least you'll know in good time. It's not like, you're going to find out with a few weeks notice. So that's just one thing to mention on that.
3 letters to everyone. VPN. I'm just going to leave that out.
I don't know what you mean.
Wow. Okay.
I think it just goes to show that when the season gets interesting, when the running comes in, the teams that are involved in the running are the ones that are going to get shafted in terms of the fan base.
Yeah.
And that's the disappointing thing, really.
Yeah, I just can't imagine. That was one of the things that I'm sort of glad that we've never had to really face too much, is massively change kickoff times. But if you're starting to talk about, what was it, Friday evenings, Saturday lunchtimes, Sunday lunchtimes, it very much in that territory. And without being funny, I'm sure some fans of other clubs won't like this, but we are probably going to get shown quite a lot, you would imagine, aren't we? So we could be seeing this quite a lot. But yeah, that's pretty much everything on the EFL deal that I've got.
Just one last thing, mate. It's part of my normal Sky subscription, is it? I don't have to pay extra for this, so
no, it forms part of your normal subscription. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Great.
He can libel the dead, but he's got more concern about how much money he's paying for his Sky box. So yeah, priorities by Andrew Gill. Before we go back to the last bit of match action that was played by Wrexham team the other week, let's just keep on track with the current subject. And who are we going to have in our division next season? Because it's shaping up to be kind of like Championship 1.2, really. It's got some absolutely huge big hitters in there. League One and League Two playoffs, Andy. Who is contesting them and who do we want?
So I know the League Two playoffs, and I know that is Crawley versus Crewe. If I'm being absolutely selfish, I would love Crawley to come up because it's such a good away day and it's really near my house. I'm going to be absolutely honest. I don't know who's in League One.
Bolton and Oxford.
Oh, in that case, never been to Boxford. I've just put both of them together.
Oxford Park. Oh, yeah.
Right. Here's a question. I've been to the old Oxford ground. Does that count that I've been to Oxford?
Yes.
Straw poll.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does for me.
Okay. I suppose it's not Manor Ground in the league tables, is it? It's Oxford United. All right, that's good. In that case, I want Bolton to stay down because I've never been, and my mate Joey's a really big fan, and it'd be nice to go and see a game with him. He'd hate it because he's not in the Championship, but I'd enjoy it.
Bolton Joe.
Yeah, okay, we'll have that. Bolton Joey, yeah.
Liam, who do you want from that mix of 4?
I think, yeah, I don't really like Crewe, to be honest. I don't think it's any surprise to any Wrexham fans. So I don't really like Crawley either, actually, come to think of it, for historical reasons. But from what I'm told, not that I would know, but I'm told by several people now that it's a decent away day. There's a good atmosphere, good feel to it when you go to their place. So yeah. And I almost feel like it might benefit us more. As much as I would like to go to Bolton's ground, I think it would probably benefit us more if Bolton were to go up, because I can see them challenging again next season. And from watching Oxford, they've done well to get to where they have, but I was amazed that Peterborough didn't beat them, to be honest. So yeah, for those reasons, I will go. Let's keep Oxford down and bring Crawley up.
Oof, Dan.
I've got a few friends who season ticket holders at Bolton, and they've also got the best stadium name in the EFL.
Oh, go on.
The Tough Sheet Stadium, as it's now called. So who doesn't want to go to the Tough Sheet Stadium?
Outstanding.
I mean, what is tough sheet, Dan? It sounds like a really, really industrial toilet paper.
I'm not sure it's toilet paper. I think it's more like insulation board, to be honest with you. I'm not 100% sure, but from what I've heard from my friends, I think it was the owner of, or the founder of Tough Sheet, who
Gary Tough Sheet.
probably sadly passed away a couple of years ago, and his wife has used. I know, yeah. How bad do you feel? And I think his wife has now used the company to, because Bolton was his big love, apparently. So I think they've done it in his honor. That's what I'm being told, but I mean, who knows? That could be the biggest wind up going. The other thing about Oxford is Mark Harris is their top goal scorer, so you just know that if he comes to the racecourse, seeing as though from what I remember of him, he couldn't hit a barn door. Now I fully would put money on him getting a hat trick, probably in the first 10 minutes as well. As for Crawley and Crewe, I work a little bit in Crewe, so it's always nice to give them a beating. So I'm easy on either. I think both will struggle if they go up, just from resource point of view.
Yeah, I think I concur. Easy 6 points from Crewe if they come up, but I don't think they will. I think Crawley will spank them. They look really,
was
really
so good last night.
They were great. I mean, that was it. The fourth goal was like one touch football. Oh, it was such a good goal.
It was a shame to see MK Don struggle, wasn't it?
Yeah, crying shame. Yeah, crying shame for football. So I think Crawley will do it, and yeah, the Tough Sheet Stadium is up there with the Kit Kat Crescent and the Tony Macaroni Stadium. Is that they're just the best names for the grounds. So from a selfish perspective, I've done Oxford and their three-sided ground. I've done Bolton, but to cover a Bolton match as opposed to watching Wrexham there. So I would love Bolton to stay down, because I know I'm inclined to agree with Liam. It's already shaping up to be a super contested division, probably arguably one of the toughest League Ones has ever been. So, but yeah, go on Oxford.
The other thing with Bolton, I think there's a bit of history with James McLean and Bolton fans. You'd be surprised to hear. I know he was very vocal on social media when Wigan beat Bolton this season. He was very, very vocal, so that could be quite amusing.
Yeah, we'll take that. We'll go for that. Wrexham Women. The last time we were recording, we were recording prior to their Bute Welsh Cup final game against Cardiff in the so neutral territory of Newport County's Rodney Parades. Not sure what the FAW were thinking there, but there we go. I digress. I think they had the crowd was bigger than the men's Welsh Cup final, which tells you about the growth of the game and the interest surrounding it. I watched the highlights of that game, and all right, Wrexham have lost 6 times to Cardiff in all competitions this season, but that was as closest to the lot. And on another day they could have emerged victorious. So yeah, it's another defeat for them, but consider the spankings they've had prior to that compared to this one. It was chalk and cheese. So it just kind of shows the marker they've laid down ahead of next season and finishing behind Cardiff and Swansea. They plotted a top 4 finish. They got third. They're gonna grow and recruit smartly in the summer, both on and off the pitch and behind the scenes. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens, and it'll be very interesting to see how the US tour goes as well, because obviously they're going over there as part of it. So we'll discuss more a little bit about the women shortly as part of the episode review. The Croyce Howell pub, they haven't renamed it. Jordan Davis's new venture, Rich Watkin of Fat Boar, and various other associated hostelries in and around Wrexham. There was a bit of a soft launch at the Croyce Howell yesterday, I believe. Which is
Did you get an invite, Tim? I didn't.
I didn't get an invite. I've got an invite to something else, which if it does happen, I'll be invited. So I need to find out a bit more about that. But no, I wasn't invited. But it looked good by all accounts. It was very, very well received. Kind of what does it mean for Jordan and everything else? Because we sat down with him at the Bristol Reds meeting a few weeks back, and basically the long story short of how his involvement came about for this was he's moved to an area in Fly, a new estate. He's done that cool thing of what people on new estates do, which is get involved in a local WhatsApp group for all the sort of local nosy neighbours and everything else. He's found out about the pub kind of being up for sale or up for use. he's then contacted Rich Watkin, said, are you interested? And Rich was like, nah, no thanks. And he's, oh, that's a shame. If you were gonna do something with it, I might have jumped in. And then the train of thought has swiftly changed. I'm sure they won't mind me revealing this. They better not do. So yeah, so that's how it started. And yeah, Jordan, as much as he's not been having much luck on the game time front, is showing that he's prepared to put something back into the local economy and put down some roots, even more roots in the area. Does that mean anything? Can we read anything into it from a player point of view, Andy?
No, I mean, it's not like he's going to be pulling pints there like 5 days a week, 9 till 6, is it? No. I mean, look, it's quite clever, isn't it? Because how could you make a pub in Wrexham work at the moment, or any sort of hostelry? You would attach Wrexham FC to it. It's what Rich has done very well on all his premises. It's what Wayne is doing extremely well at the Turf. And, you know, if you look at something like, I don't know, the Horse and Jockey, if you decided to make that a Wrexham pub, put a load of memorabilia in there, made it part of like a tour for fans because they know about it. The same with Neil's Vault 33. It becomes a good little sort of pub crawl for them, and I think it'd be great to put the Crosshoyle on that sort of map, really. So yeah, I'm all for it. Why wouldn't you try and resuscitate a good old local venue? We've all heard about the Crosshoyle. Have we been there for any time soon? Probably not. Well, we might do now, and it seems like it's a good add to Rich's portfolio because it gives them something different to what they had before. There's a lot more space there. So, yeah, good luck to them, I think.
There we are. And as Liam said, we will await our invites in the post. Liam, you have, and we need Andy to set you up here with a classic from about 2.5 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. A classic segment. Is he ready? Which is called, Andy.
Move it. I like to move it. You like to move it. I like to move.
Keeping the mad stuntman and reel to reel in royalties there. We have been for the last couple of months.
Yeah, it's been a while actually since we've done this segment, to be fair. Our snout wonder boy, the boy wonder, the genius, the football transfer guru that he is, has been sort of digging the dirt, and he's got some news for us. So the first piece of news is that the club and Parky are scouting younger players. So Phil's looking around and he's thinking, oh, young man. That's getting the thumbs up from Andy already. So it sounds like we might be using the loan market in some respects. One target that's been rumoured is from the Premier League. So maybe that indicates perhaps what, the players that we can access now that we're in League One, hopefully. And at the opposite end of the scale, I think you'd be fair to say Cymru Premier. We're also looking at a young player from there too, which I think many people would say, that's been underutilized by us really, especially in recent years. So yeah, that's quite interesting, isn't it? Looking for a bit of youth.
Music to my ears, mate, in both camps. I mean, as I keep saying, I think as we go up the leagues, we're going to need more pace and more youth in the side. And it's all well and good, Parky sort of getting someone who can really help us through League One and the conference, and it could be an older, more experienced player. But I think once you get to League One, it's so much quicker again to have that young, quick player in. I think will really help us. And then the next thing is, like, we need to buy potential. So best players from the Cymru Premier. Look at the lad who went down to Newport, pulling up trees there. Will Evans, is it? These players do exist, and they all develop at later times. So there's nothing stopping us picking up the next Lee Trundle from the Cymru Premier, is there? Brilliant. I'm all for that.
I find it fascinating that we're doing that now. We should have been doing that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago.
No, I mean, no, I don't. Yes, we should have been doing it.
We should have. So
no, you're right. You're right.
Is the reason why we're doing it now because we've got the infrastructure to do it? When it was a skeleton staff before. That's my belief.
Yeah.
Because if you watch a documentary, especially this week, you think, I didn't even know who our head of recruitment was, and didn't even know the name of our sports psychologist. There's more and more faces to roles that we probably know should exist at a football club, but we've not really been wise to them for so long. Because in my head, because yes, we were a professional club in the National League for so long, but in my head it was like manager, assistant manager, kit man, physio. You might have had one or two scouts. I think we had Mark Crichton doing it on the hoof occasionally. I can't remember, but yeah, maybe it's that. And if it is, then great. I just hope it's not like another Adam Barton scenario when we had him come from the sort of Welsh Premier sort of pond.
I think we got him from Dundee United. I just think he had played in Welsh Premier.
That way, didn't he? He sort of came by that way, but yeah.
We had Rob Ogilvie scouting for us at one point. Down in the London area, down in the southeast.
Was he trying to find the next Rob Ogilvie? Because
quite possible. Recruitment by day, recruitment by night, I think Rob was. So it's interesting, isn't it? I think like going back in time, we show short-term thinking because certainly under the trust, and there's no criticism of the trust, but managers had a shelf life of 6 months, 12 months max. And so why would they get potential? They wanted ready-made, experienced, and we've seen the benefit now, or we're seeing the benefit now of having just more stability, I think, in the club, which enables people to then come through. I think we've seen that with Luke McNicholas, haven't we? We've bought potential there, and we're on the basis that he's got the freedom to develop to then become at some point, hopefully, challenging for that number one place within that. So if we can see more of that, I agree with Andy and Liam. I'm all game for that. I think it's a great idea to see.
Yeah, I've just had a name thrown in at me while we've been having this conversation from my top secret snout Wonder Boy. He says we're interested in Marvin Ekpiteta from Blackpool, who is a 28-year-old centre-back and was former player of the season for them when they were in the Championship. He was released by them in the last couple of weeks, but from what people are saying, he's one of the standout names that's been released. He said he's looking for a move to the Championship, but happy to listen to offers from League One as well. So
he's the guy who levered in a goal for Leighton Orient against us and broke my heart. I think it was the Brad Walker game, wasn't it? When Brad Walker went off injured, we were really going for promotion, and then this fella twatted it in. I didn't like him that day. I'll take him now.
I was going to say, have you forgiven him for it?
It was the last Marvin we had, Marvin Andrews.
Yes, I'm going to say, yeah,
definitely.
Him of the wasn't he quite religious, Marvin Andrews?
Yeah, he put a lot of videos of him just singing in his car, like hymns and gospel stuff. Great, very uplifting.
Give me oil in my lamp, was that one?
Yeah, probably. I think it was. just a very nice guy, Marvin Andrews.
Yeah,
fair play, but interesting. Not a million miles away, but the location and stuff. Blackpool, be interested to see where he lives. But Marvin Ekpiteta, I can say his name like Andy says a Conquo. Ekpiteta, right? Yeah.
I'm sure
it'd be good to bring players in with obscure names, because if we don't keep Arthur next year, we need to keep Tim busy on the new songs, don't we?
That will be laying down the new challenge. That will.
We'll just sign his brother. It'd be the laughing murder from
the Book of Brian.
Yeah, the life of Brian. Right. Anyway, let's dive into Welcome to Wrexham season 3. I think it's been great so far. I think the first 2 episodes are really, really good, kind of setting the scene for everything, really, what's happened and what's about to happen. Episode 3. I mean, Dan, you're obviously heavily involved on this one. I thought it was a very engaging watch. I thought it was a tough watch, if I'm honest, as well, with the best of intentions, because obviously the large kind of reoccurring theme behind it is mental health and the resilience of it, both from Del Morgan, Wrexham Women's goalkeeper, and how she had so many setbacks early on in her playing career, how she had kind of a weak mental mindset. I think she said something like that, and how she kind of bounced back from it. Same with Mia Roberts, finding out about being let go by the club, via social media. Fair play to the documentary makers for keeping that in. It was something that I don't think any of us expected to see in there, because when Neil came to the first Fearless Live event, he even said he was quite angry with it, and don't think he was expecting it to be in, so that made the cut. And then obviously you've got the sports scientist talking about it and your involvement. So before we get to going over your story of that again, Dan, just tell us how you got involved, the documentary crew approached you to begin with, and what were your initial thoughts to it?
Yeah, so I got contacted through our office. One of the producers got in touch regarding an award that Andy's Man Club Wrexham won back in December of last year, a Celebrating Bravery Award for services to men's mental health and the community. So they got in touch about obviously having seen that. And incidentally, Rob and Ryan actually did us a video for kind of congratulating Andy's Man Club, which was incredible to see that. So we started off with conversations with myself to talk about the club, the group, and I suppose really what sort of, I hate the term, but kind of what angle they wanted to kind of go with. So there was plenty of conversations, and then I got asked if I'd be willing to talk about my story and my relationship with Wrexham and my son, and yeah, it's something that I do quite a lot through Andy's Man Club. I talk a lot about my kind of experience, and I think I mentioned to you last week, Tim, about feeling really nervous about this piece. I think that I love to share all about Andy's Man Club, and I love to kind of talk about the importance of this charity that means obviously so much to me. But it felt different doing it because I suppose it's combined in three loves really, my son Wrexham and that. So it meant more. I found it emotionally much more challenging doing this than I have done in any other kind of media setting, which I'm privileged enough to get to do some.
So for anybody who hasn't seen the episode yet, just give us a run through of your kind of story with Charlie and how it came to pass, where you got to the point that you reached where you ultimately contemplated suicide.
Yeah, so kind of life was fairly straightforward for me on the whole. I'd probably go as far as saying, or in fact I would go as far as saying that I was probably the guy that didn't necessarily overly believe that mental health was real. I thought it was a creation for people that didn't want to work on a Monday, generally. That was my attitude to it. When my son Charlie was born, I was really excited and kind of wanted to be heavily involved, go to all the appointments, scans, all those kind of things, but just be really present. And within an hour of my son being born, he had really trouble breathing, so he was rushed to intensive care. And one of the things that I kind of remember, and I think this is a really blokey thing, the first thing I did was like, oh, where's my son? And the nurse and the midwife saying, oh, he's gone to NICU, intensive care. And I was like, yeah, but where is that? And the biggest thing that I was focused on was the fact that I didn't know where that was in the hospital. Like it was just a real kind of focus point. So he spent a week in intensive care. Both his lungs collapsed at one point. He was on an incubator. He was on life support incubator. He spent a week in intensive care. He got stronger and stronger and stronger. And then he has what's called a coloboma, which basically means his eye didn't form correctly, one of his eyes. But we found that, or his mum found that after he was about 8 weeks old. And we were told to prepare for the fact that he'd probably have cancer. Thankfully he didn't. But then this coloboma is normally a sign that other issues are at hand. And thankfully, so for the first 6 months of his life, and the reason why I tell you kind of all that detail is for the first 6 months of his life, in and out of hospital, and kind of getting checked his heart, all his kind of major arteries, and he was kind of getting checked, all his major organs to make sure that they were functioning properly. So for the whole 6 months, I felt like my life was kind of on pause. But the thing about it was I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what was going on. I felt like I'd failed. I felt like literally my only job as a dad was to protect him. And I felt like I'd just messed that up. And everything just kind of reinforced off the back of that. And because I didn't turn, because I didn't know where to go, because I didn't know who to speak to, And the biggest thing was because I didn't understand, like I had zero self-awareness. So when it came to how I actually felt, I just knew something was wrong, and I turned to drink. I turned to just kind of being like turn into all these different things that would kind of escape from feeling nothing, and it really affected like that. My ex-wife, my son's mum, would as openly said, like at times she didn't want to leave Charlie when he was a baby alone with me, not because she ever thought I'd hurt him, but just because I had no connection with him. I didn't know how to be a dad, and she felt that it was unfair to put me in that position. And I just felt useless. So I got to the point, and I went a step further, well, 3 steps further in terms of contemplating suicide. I had attempted suicide 3 times in an 18-month period before walking through the door of Andy's Man Club, really.
It's almost like a male version of postnatal depression in a
It is
way.
I have postnatal depression, Tim. 1 in 10 dads worldwide get postnatal depression. Men go through huge hormonal changes when their partners are pregnant, especially for the first time. Men lose up to 1/3 of their testosterone during pregnancy. So I know all this now because I've done all this research and campaigned for it, but the reality is none of that was spoken to me. I was told by a midwife in an antenatal class that I didn't need to worry about the baby. That wasn't my job. My job was to look after the mum.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Thankfully, that times have changed, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, that was the reality at that stage.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredibly brave of you to kind of tell that story, and especially to such a wider audience. I imagine that was the big kind of push as well, because it's kind of cathartic for you to talk about that experience. But if it means opening other people's eyes to this, to anybody who might be going through it, or anybody who may go through it, they may watch that and go, I can resonate with what Dan was saying. So I suppose that was one of the drivers to tell your story as well, was it?
Yeah, I think it goes twofold. I mean, one, I'm hugely passionate about fathers' mental health. I think it's a topic that isn't spoken about anywhere near enough. But the other thing, that the other driver was to talk about going to a club like Andy's Man Club is something that everybody should consider should they need that space to go and talk. You don't need to get to my stage. In fact, please don't wait until you feel like I did to walk through the door. Walk through the door if you feel fine. Just come and experience what it means to be around a group of guys who actually it's normal to talk about some really challenging things, but to be supportive, because I don't think we necessarily have that in society. And what Andy's Man Club does is exactly what Rex and Rob and Ryan have been so successful in doing in the last 3 years at the football club, is creating a community that people want to be part of. We've had a charity football game today against North Wales Police. We've had 25 lads from 4 different Andy's Man clubs across the Northwest turn up because they want to be part of something. Yeah, they want to play football, but they want to be part, and the conversations that happen after are hugely positive. And that's what I kind of the twofold for me. But getting Andy's Man Club discussed on such a big scale is really important, because the more people are comfortable to go and get help at somewhere like AMC, then the better the world will become.
And there's more out there now, isn't there? There's Andy's Man Club. You've got a Dragon Chat as well by the football club. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I'm sure the other guys will probably concur in one way or another. But I've definitely experienced it. I've had my own sort of issues with depression in the past, and the effect that that's had, and addressing that, and sometimes you feel ashamed and a little bit isolated. So it's important to kind of speak out and not feel that way, because there's nothing wrong with it. And I think we've moved on a lot. We obviously saw the big advert that Norwich City did about mental health, which just went viral. I think there's one that's come out this week that Wolverhampton Wanderers have done, which is very, very powerful. I'd urge anybody to go and see it. It's about 10 minutes long, but definitely worth 10 minutes of your day. Are we getting better at it, Dan? Are we getting better as men at speaking about this sort of stuff? It's not like it was where you could go to a pub and there'd be that laddish behaviour. We'll talk about women, we'll talk about the football, blah 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 blah. Is it getting better? There's still a long way to go, I suspect, no doubt. But are we breaking that stigma? Are we breaking down those boundaries using kind of the vehicle of football to help with that?
Yeah, I think on the whole we are. I mean, we see, just as a charity alone, we see 4,500 men a week walk through our doors across the whole of the UK. So yeah, I think we're starting to, but I think that what you've got to put into context is things like mental health and suicide prevention. Like they're really complex topics. It's not one size fits all on any of these things. And in fact, last year we saw a spike in suicides for the first time since 2008. So it's a really complex issue in terms of, if you're going to bring suicides down, it's not just here's a space to go and talk about their issues, because we have to be able to do something without getting too deep about stopping those issues from occurring, first and foremost. But I think that until that happens, I think the importance of breaking down the barriers to get support and get that kind of help, I think is really important. And I think that we're on our way. There's lots of groups out there. You mentioned Dragon Chat, obviously another thing that's really close to my heart, being involved from the start with Steve Lloyd. I think it's hugely important that we do that, because again, we live in a most connected environment that we have done, with things like mobiles and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think we've ever been as isolated, because I don't think that we have community anymore too much. And that's why, again, going back to the football club, that's what the football club have done so well, is bring together people to want to be part of something. That's something that we mirror in terms of Andy's Man Club, in terms of seeing 4,500 men turning up and seeing 25 guys turn up for a football match today and giving up their time on a Sunday to be part of something. That's what we need more of, I think.
Yeah, no, 100%. Before I bring the lads in, just kind of give us an overview. It's Andy's Man Club, peer support group, suicide prevention. Where can they find it? Where can they view it? Where's the nearest ones to Wrexham? Obviously, there's plenty up and down the country, but just give us an overview where people can find you.
Yeah, so we're peer support every Monday night from 7 till 9, apart from bank holidays. There'll always be guys that facilitate us outside from 6:30. We have currently in North Wales, we have 2. So we have one in Wrexham, which is at Yellow and Blue. We recently opened one in Deeside at Crawley, Cambria. We have 190 groups across the UK. And if you don't want to attend you don't want to attend a physical group, there's also an online group. You've also got Dragon Chat on a Thursday night for men, and Monday night for women. So yeah, really, really important. You can get all the details for Andy's Man Club on our website, which is andysmanclub.co.uk.
Brilliant. Andy?
Yeah. Dan, I've got a couple of questions around the episode, really. Firstly, when you were talking in the group, there was loads of pictures of men in the background. Can you sort of take us through that, what they were and sort of what that represents?
Yeah, the pictures in the background, because we use Yellow and Blue, and Yellow and Blue very, very kindly, Pete Humphreys really kindly allowed us to use his venue to do the filming. So the pictures on the walls, I believe, and Pete will probably be a better person to actually say this, but the pictures on the wall, I believe, are local kind of well-known figures from a variety of different backgrounds and different experiences. And they're there. I think an artist wanted to put something together that really represented the town. And I think that the one thing about Wrexham as a town or a city is there's loads of stories there, isn't there? We hear it consistently with the documentary about how there's so many stories within this community, and it's the same within any community. So the work that Pete does at Yellow and Blue is phenomenal, I think, and it was great to see some of the kind of pictures in the background as well as I was really proud that we got the opportunity to bring the lads that attend our Wrexham group, some of the facilitators. One of our facilitators actually sort of played the role of someone who was there for the first time, Darren Barker, and I thought he did a fantastic job in doing that as well, really to show what that experience might look like.
And the next thing from me, did you watch the episode with Charlie, and how does it sort of feel that you know that he has that positive reference for like, well, probably for the rest of his life, really, that, you know, that's there, that's forever, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think this whole experience from start to finish has been about being able to tell Charlie the story of what happened. It's hard, isn't it? My son's 8 years old. He doesn't understand the concept of mental health. He doesn't understand the concept of suicide. He doesn't understand really a huge part of my story and my experience when it comes to him. And I won't lie. It's something that causes me no end of sleepless nights thinking about how do I tell him, when do I tell him, when's the right time, how do I explain that? So actually, it's been a really cathartic experience going through him. Other than him telling me that he's going to be famous 99 times out of 100 when I see him, and having a surreal experience of being at the racecourse at half time, getting microphones put on us, and where we sit is right by where the international fans sit. And watching all these Americans dig out their phone to film kind of me and Charlie getting microphones. So it's stuff like that that's been able to kind of go through that whole experience together. He's chuffed to bits that his goal in that game that they came and filmed managed to make the cut. But we watched the episode before we picked him up from school. Myself and my partner and his mum and her partner have both watched it kind of separately before, and because some of the things that I talked about are really that haven't been included necessarily in terms of this episode was stuff that I wouldn't necessarily want Charlie to hear. But I thought that the way they did it was phenomenal. I was really impressed and really grateful, and we sat with him and watched it, and I found it really difficult. I've watched it twice now, and the first time I was completely overwhelmed. I couldn't watch it. I really struggled, and then watching it with my son was, to an extent, it brings back those emotions. I'm welling up now thinking about that kind of experience, but it's opened actually a dialogue with my son to talk about the fact that he said that he was sad that I was sad when he was born. So we had a conversation, and these are conversations that we just never would have had without this opportunity. So I think that the whole thing from start to finish has been a phenomenal one to be part of, because as somebody who still to this day struggles being a dad, actually it's brought us closer together. And it's open dialogue around, continue to open dialogue around just that whole experience of when he was born and when he was ill, and that I wasn't very well, but then I got better, and how much I love being a dad, and we're really good mates. And Wrexham's done a huge part of that, because the honest answer of the whole thing is, and this is something that I've mentioned in the past, is my relationship with Charlie is amazing now. It's one I'm really grateful for, but it's based on the fact that when I struggled and continue to struggle being a dad, the one place where I felt really comfortable with him was going to Wrexham and watching the football, because it was the one place where I felt there was a bit of pressure off, because he likes to look around and see what's going on and all these kind of different bits and pieces. But it's the one place for those 90 minutes where I do not question myself about being a dad, because I can tell you, even now, 8 years on, I question myself almost every minute in terms of whether or not I'm a good dad.
Yeah. It strikes me that they handled your story, sort of very sensibly. Of the documentary crew sort of checked in with you quite regularly throughout the process, and obviously since it's been aired as well.
Yeah, definitely during the process. I joked that I spoke to Alex Leach at the documentary more times than I spoke to my partner sometimes. So that they were fantastic. They three or four of them reached out to explain when the episode was going to go out. And have kept in touch and just said that. And the one thing that I think they've all shown is just a huge amount of humility around filming, and a massive amount of sensitivity as well. And being, I'm really grateful for them to be able to show that story and show Andy's Man Club in the way that they've done. And they're kind of the opposite of thanking me, and I don't feel like I've done much, and they're thanking me to say, look, we really appreciate your patience and getting involved and being so open and honest and things on those lines. So I can't speak highly enough. I know you guys have worked with them as well, and I can't speak highly enough of the whole crew. I think that each and every single one of them are courteous, are patient, and just act with just an unbelievable amount of humility.
Yeah, I think we definitely concur with that, certainly. And what's sort of reaction been like over the last few days for you? You've had lots of people messaging you and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's been really good. But it's one thing again that I can share with my son. I've been really grateful that I've received numerous kind of direct messages across all social media from people all around the world, which is probably just the normal day for you guys, but for me, not so much. And actually showing my son, like we got a really nice message from someone from San Diego in California, and I was showing this message to him, and he was so chuffed to bits. And then he's got a map of the world in his bedroom, and he started to. I was showing him on that map just where that person lived, and he just was like kind of like head blown in terms of that. So yeah, the feedback's been great, which is amazing. But again, the feedback needs to. Hopefully, we'll see that through Andy's Man Club in terms of more guys going and getting that support.
Yeah, fantastic. Can't see any better than that. Just going into other aspects of episode 3. Obviously, there's a lot with Wrexham Women, rightfully so, given what they'd achieved last season and obviously what they're striving out to achieve in the season just gone. It was met, Andy, with a little bit of reticence and criticism by some quarters online. Some querying whether there should be that much airtime, and people saying
bollocks.
I mean,
Absolute
it's nonsense. That's misogyny and sexism.
But also, just tell a story of the season, right? This season, more than probably any, is quite linear on what it's trying to do, and it's really trying to tell the story of the matches. And part of it is because it's so quick turnaround after the end of the season, and the season is still fresh in your mind, so you want to relive those bits. But what you can't do is let this season drop out of pace by going to like a women only ref. No, fuck that. Put it in with the main lot, right? It needs to be told in sequence. They need to mix the men's and the ladies teams together, and it was absolutely the right thing to do that. You're always going to get people complain on Twitter. You get it when you get a female pundit on Sky Sports. Let them do their own shit, whatever their Union Jack Twitter handle is. That's fine. Look, I enjoyed it. I thought it put it together well. I think it's the right way to do it for the rest of however many seasons we get now, right? We've introduced the women's team over the last couple of seasons. Now we know them. We know the characters. Put them in with the men's. And look, at the end of the day, anyone complaining, it's 8 minutes. Get over it. It's out of a 44-minute episode. Only a quarter of it was with the ladies' team.
Yeah, if anything, the complaint could be it wasn't enough.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting because whichever way you look at it, we've just come from a league where it was well known for having largely makeup of part-time teams at one point. The National League was largely part-time teams, wasn't it? Wrexham were in a position where they were fortunate enough to not be in a part-time team, and now we're showing the angle of Wrexham Women being the first semi-professional women's team in Wales, essentially a part-time team in that respect, that they have to juggle jobs. They have to, in Phoebe's case, they have to juggle motherhood.
I thought it was great. Those scenes were brilliant. Those scenes were really good. And also, the Neil and Mia dynamic was fantastic. It was just a really good part of the episode. Obviously, Mia's not at Wrexham anymore, but that doesn't matter. It's the link between the men's and the women's, the old and the new. That's what's bringing it all together. I think it was a really good segment.
I think you can't criticize a show that's about community by only showing 50% of the community. I think that what the women's team have achieved this year is phenomenal. I think that there's household names within the women's team that you never would have had 3, 4, 5. Well, we didn't have a team 3, 4, 5 years ago, did we? So the fact that we've now got household names within that, we should be celebrating that. We should be celebrating the fact that our owners are so keen and so frustrated that they can't pay them more. These are kind of the bits that if you're sat there getting really offended by the fact that we're showing Wrexham women's team, then maybe Welcome to Wrexham is not for you.
Well said. Well said. Can't say any fairer than that, Liam. Try and beat that.
No, just completely agree. But I think from my perspective, I felt like sort of closer to the women's game through it, in that it's brought their personalities out. Like if I saw them now out in Wrexham, I'd be like, oh, that's Rosie. You can actually put names to faces, and the stories about their lives are actually, fascinating. You've got Rosie, who's a prison guard, which imagines quite the job in itself to be doing alongside football. And yeah, I think it's the humanity of it. Because what I like about this series is that I think it's got the balance really well in terms of the human aspect of things, and then matching that up with sort of the football action as well. I feel like this season the balance is absolutely perfect, and it just works
Evolved.
together really. Yeah, it works together
Evolved
really
because
nicely.
yeah, I would say it was a bit of a scattergun approach in the first season. I loved it, and I thought the first few episodes especially really summed it up, and were great. But then after that, it had to show so much, and it raced around from one thing to the next. Right? It's evolving, it's zoning in now because it knows that it's 3 seasons in, and a lot of the viewers know Elliot Lee. they know about Mark Howard. They know about Rosie. They know about Mia. So they can just tell their stories a little bit more. I'd actually say that we should actually rename it. So I don't want it to be called Welcome to Wrexham anymore. I want it to become the Steve Parkin Show, which is just 45 minutes of Steve Parkin swearing indiscriminately at inanimate objects. And I would pay my Disney fee for that. Tim, would you?
Yeah, I would. I mean, we always knew, we always knew he had it because he's just this sort of brash kind of, I'm assuming Yorkshireman from what I can remember. And I remember when Steve Parkin came to Girls at Reds meet, and he said him and Phil aren't exactly like chalk and cheese like you'd expect them to be, considering how long they've been working together. But that dynamic just works so well, and I just think when he speaks, you listen. He doesn't have to say a lot. But when he does say it, you can bet your ass it's been drilled into your head. I just think I think he's so funny. From that one, I think it was it the first season or second season? He was like, fucking get in there. And then on this one, he's like, get those fucking 3 points in that skip. I was just crying, man. I was like laughing.
That was brilliant. Right. I'm going to say another few things because I've just watched it. Another few things that sort of struck me as I watched it back now. Right. Okay. Right. Did anyone notice the Americanization of the scores? The both Stockport games, they had the scores the wrong way around. So it was like, yeah, so it was Stockport and then Wrexham. That's just a mistake. That's how they do American sports over there. The other thing was Parky on the sideline. Sorry?
It was at Stockport though.
No, because it went through the first Stockport matches before he got to the away match, and the scores just came up as like Stockport 0, Wrexham 3. It's right. a minor point. It's a minor point. The other thing, Parky on the sidelines at Stockport was very, very candid. A lot more candid than you actually got in the dressing room. I think there he sort of knows what's going to happen, but the sort of little stuff he was saying about Boyle and stuff like that was very sort of telling. I like Boyle blaming everyone else when he got into the dressing room. I'd have probably done the same.
James McLean's face. James McLean's face, and Parker says, "Right, nobody say a fucking word."
Yeah.
James McLean. He's like,
I think he was about to say a word. The other stuff that struck me, Parky selling us really well to get Arthur in. Also, that he wanted to talk to Aidan, the goalkeeping coach, straight away. I loved the Notts County's own bits, but maybe a bit less on him. And
we know who he is.
Yeah, we do. The other sort of telling little bit, the little sort of aside. I mean, I just loved what Parky said to Ollie before he came on against Notts County. Like the last thing he said was, "Right, there's 4,000 people there. They're all chanting your name. Go out there and show them." And it's just that little bit of psychology. And it was all about psychology, but just those little bits show you just how good Parky is in the margins, just in between things, sort of like really sort of geeing up players is the right word here and there. I mean, he is a credit to us, isn't he?
He basically empowered his sports psychologist. Is it George Katadia? I thought that segment was fascinating because it's not something that you overly think about, and that's the irony. Is that his advice were less is more. If you're in the dressing room before a game, do not think about anything apart from going down the tunnel and starting the game, because otherwise you just work yourself up. And the fact that Parky at halftime was understandably fuming at Stockport, But at full time, damage is done. Whatever he says isn't going to make those lads feel any worse than what they already are. So he basically said, look, take a medicine and we go again on Monday. Get over it. I like that because there is no value in him slagging off all his players after a 5-0 defeat. They already had the slagging off at half time. So it all comes to sports psychology.
I thought, sorry, I was just going to say, I thought the really good things around the sports psychologist was actually who they chose. So I don't know whether that's staged by any stretch of imagination. I'm going to go with it. It's not. But the fact that it was Ollie Palmer and Jake Bickerstaff, I thought was really telling. Jake Bickerstaff, young up-and-coming player, talking about making a mistake, obviously probably missing a chance, and being able to wipe that clear and go again, I thought was really, really important. But the fact that actually someone like Ollie, who you see him as, 6'5" or whatever, and kind of big, strong lad, and then that playing in with, I agree with Andy there with what Parky said to him, 4,500 fans chanting your name, go and do it. Like, he must have come on, felt even taller than he is there. So, and the fact that that's been shown that he's accessing the sports psychologist, I think is hugely important. I think is massive, and it is that, isn't it? Because how many times do we get kind of a cluttered brain and we don't perform no matter what our job is? But actually keeping things simple, I think is definitely the way to go. So I thought it was fascinating. I've got an interest obviously in that sort of thing, but it was a really, really good part of the. And I didn't know that we had a sports psychologist, just like
Sam Katardi, not George. It was Sam. Don't know why I got George on, but it was Sam Katardi. Very, yeah.
Can I just say as an aside, I watched a football documentary early in the week. It's called Orient Club for a Fiver. It's on Amazon Prime. Watch that. It's from 1995. There's a guy called John Sitton. And because we all sort of love the behind the scenes bit, there's loads of that. And how they did it back then and how he did it boggles your mind. I definitely recommend it. I think we've moved on a little bit from that, but it is great entertainment. Watch that on Amazon Prime.
There you go. Right, time to wrap up, I think, gentlemen. Favourite moments of, well, we've discussed favourite moments of the episode, I think, pretty much all around Parkin.
Season?
Where do you want it to go next? What are we expecting from episode 4 in the incoming week? Have we got any ears to the ground? Any idea? I can't remember.
Find out. Hang on a second. I've got a trusty website called Futon Critic, which sort of as they finish the episodes and descriptions go out, they put them all up on there.
Right.
So we've gone from Knots again. Next week we have got Risky Business. The birthday prank war between Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds escalates as Wrexham is reminded of the fragility of the city's rebound on and off the field. Interesting.
I can't remember what we did now. What was their last birthday pranks to one another?
It was the blimp, wasn't it? I think that I presume that
was the year before, was it?
Was it the song? It was the song. I mean, the song was brilliant. Fair play.
There was the park. There was the Memorial Park as well.
In the course.
Which still hasn't really, not much has happened with that, to be honest. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the blimp and the song was the first time.
Yeah.
And then I think it was the park, and I can't remember what the other bit was that he did.
So matches wise, we beat Morecambe 6-0. We beat Yeovil 3-0 in the cup. Drew with Harrogate, but there might be a bit about Arthur's injury there. Beat Newport. I don't know if we'll go that far, but they're the sort of key matches.
I think Newport will be in the one after, because the one after mentions the temporary stand. So we're probably going to see Newport the episode after that.
Great. Isn't it great that it's out so quickly? I mean, fair play. They've taken a gamble here.
Quite an interesting thing to what you're saying there, Andy, is there's Ollie Palmer just did a podcast with an American podcast broadcaster. I can't think, name escapes now, but I put it out on X before. But he says about the documentary, he said basically Rob and Ryan are even trying to look to do it like almost like it's as possibly as live, as real time as possible. So it might be out every 2 weeks. So how they go about doing it is
interesting.
Some challenge. But I would not be surprised to see them look to see if that's a feasible way of doing it, because obviously they try to narrow it down so people can catch up with it, almost like it's almost just happened. But if it gets to the point where they're putting stuff out 2 weeks after the actual event, that is some turnaround, and that does keep everybody abreast of everything, and kind of almost kind of like acts as a wider support act to this whole Sky thing as well. It's like people have gone out and watched the game. Oh, well, we're going to hear all about the inner workings of the dressing room in that 2 weeks' time.
Almost like a AAA, yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe, yeah. So, be interesting to see if that happens.
There's another evolution of this season. It's how they're using Ryan and Rob. Now, they more or less were the sort of de facto, when you get a new show and you always try and go into it with the new character, and you go in with the new character. And I think that's how a lot of people accessed it on the first season. They're now using them more as talking heads, but I think that's fine, because I think it gets them to be involved in each episode. And also, they're really funny. I mean, they're hilarious, those two. And I just think that sort of segment is working quite well. And I think that would lend itself to a quicker turnaround, because you can get these guys together, even if it's over Zoom or something, and they can just add their bits to it. Anyway, yeah, enjoyed it. I think it's gathering pace now. It really is.
It is. Great stuff. Well, I think we've managed to kick a good fair bit of chunk out of time from there. So onwards and upwards until next week. Thanks to everybody for watching the episodes, for listening to the episode. Like, subscribe, leave a review, leave a comment, all that jazz. Buy us a coffee, in inverted commas.
Newsletter,
please subscribe, so me and Andy can afford to live off various pieces of bread.
keep Tim in stag pictures.
In what pictures? Oh, then that stag picture. I was like, I'm doing a stag doing ages. I need to move that. I'm gonna bring me signed shirt back down. A bit of a mixed about. Yeah. So thanks to Dan coming on. Really appreciate it. Go and check out Andy's Man Club. Go and check out Dragon Chat. Go and check out everything and anything, because there's loads of stuff out there. Head above the waves. There's tons of stuff you can reel off for men's mental health and suicide prevention. And yeah, don't be afraid to speak up. And our DMs are always open if you want to come and have a chat with us as well. I've got a fair degree of knowledge on it and training, so I'm not oblivious to it myself. So yeah, there is a safe space for everybody. So please go and seek that out, and don't think twice about doing it. So until next week, enjoy the rest of this. I was going to say summer, but we've had 3 days of 22-degree heat, and now it's just lashed it down with a thunderstorm. So is that summer done? I don't know, but I'd like to think in the next few weeks we'll have some players through the door ahead of US tour preparations. So until then, I think we will. Business early, I think. But until then, thanks very much. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
See you.
Cheers.